Hey, you have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Very excited to have on Josh Ambrose. He's the franchisee of Mosquito Hunters in the Jacksonville as well as St. Augustine area in Florida. I was joking before we started, just way up, just a little bit up the coast, like literally the whole Florida coastline from where I am
Yeah.
here in Miami Beach. Josh has a pretty impressive background, both in the military as well as corporate. So we're going to learn from Josh in terms of how his background has applied to franchising, entrepreneurship, how he got into franchising, what it's like running a small business, as well as other information that you should consider if you're thinking about going to franchising yourself and making that leap from the military or from corporate life into franchising.
Absolutely.
So, Josh, thanks a lot for joining
I
today.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Maybe you could just tell me a little bit about your background and for the audience that's listening.
Yeah, certainly. So I never saw myself as a business owner ever. I joined the Marine Corps straight out of high school, barely 18 years old. I was enlisted for about 7.5 years before I became an officer. Did 24 years in the Marine Corps before I retired last year. And, trying in my transition process of transitioning from military life, which I've been doing for so long, to civilian, I started networking. I started finding out kind of really what was out there. And I came across Amazon's DSP program where they essentially, it's like a franchise relationship without all of the costs and the fees. But there was no territory here where I was in Jacksonville, Florida. So I had another buddy that flew in the Marine Corps with me, and he got out and he was a pilot for Delta. And it was during COVID when people were getting furloughed and laid off. And he's like, I've got to figure out something else to do. So I told him about Amazon's DSP program. He lives in Atlanta. Same problem for him. There was the only territory available for him was in like Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was just too far to drive for him. So
We've looked at it. We've analyzed it. For it's
it's
pretty
great.
pretty low startup cost for the profit potential. It's
Absolutely.
just the issue is the territory. There's not much
Yeah,
available.
and as soon as one comes available or even before it's available, it's gone. So you kind of have to get in early if you can. But so I told him about it, and he told me like he looked into it, he applied. The only thing closer to him was like Knoxville, Tennessee, to be like an hour and a half commute. So he's like, I can't do that. But he said, I am talking to a franchise broker, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And
Yeah, what is that?
so he started talking to me about it and telling me, he was like, listen, we work with franchise broker. He's like helping me figure out if there's something that could fit and work for me. And so I told him, I said, well, tell me a little bit more. So he told me about it, and it ended up being Bill Easton, who he connected with me with, who how I got connected to you.
Exactly. Yeah, part of Franchise Broker Association. I had met him at their big event last November and had him on the
Yeah,
podcast
Bill.
not so long
And
ago.
Bill's a great guy. So Bill was very instrumental in what I like about a franchise broker is, if you don't know what you want to do, or if you don't even know if it's for you, like they help you through the whole process. The personality assessments between him and my wife. My wife and I doing it with him, whittling it down to two or three, then looking at the FTDs and going through the process. And the beauty of it all is, I don't pay Bill anything. Bill makes his
Sure.
money off of me actually purchasing a franchise. So I could,
Like a realtor,
yeah,
essentially.
exactly. So it's a great relationship if you're a franchisee. So I'm a huge fan of that. So that's how I kind of got involved in franchising. Never thought I would be um, a business owner, and I absolutely love being a business owner. But it's challenging. It keeps you busy. I would say that it's not for people that don't have drive. If you don't have drive, being a business owner probably isn't for you, but it's got some of the best tax advantages out there. So that's how I got to where I am right now. So now, yeah, so I purchased the Mosquito
And
Hunters.
probably like you see a lot where one of the spouses is employed and is getting that W-2
Right.
paycheck, and then business owner compensation's up and
Yes.
down. There's equipment you can
Yes.
depreciate, tax benefits, and that when you're married, that marriage of having a business owner as well as an employee can be a
Yeah.
good option for
Or
a family.
even better, my wife has W 2 employment income. I have W 2 employment income because I work full time in the bank. I have my retirement for the Marine Corps is taxed. So I have those three items that are taxable that I was able to use, especially in your first year of the expenses you have in your first year, franchise fees and everything, territory fees, startup costs. I was able to get $18,000 back in taxes, and we didn't even depreciate everything off yet. We pushed some stuff to
Wow.
follow on years. So, huge fan of the tax advantages. And e-
And who helped you with that? Was it your standard accountant that you had been working with in the past, or did you
yeah,
bring someone in?
so twofold. One, I read a book that I like to tell everyone about called Tax Free Wealth by Garrett Sutton. Huge fan of that book. That's how it kind of like opened my eyes to the tax advantages and how tax code is mostly written. 95% of it's written to teach you how to save money. Um, and then my next door neighbor. My next door neighbor is a CFO for a large insurance company who has been doing taxes for people for a while. So like him and I are good friends. So he helped me understand QuickBooks. He helped me understand like how to depreciate and why to depreciate, like to make decisions such as, if you're going to get a new vehicle, do you want to pay, depreciate it with mileage rate, or do you want to depreciate it with the entire amount? Really depends on the situation. So you need to have somebody, no matter what. You cannot kind of figure it out on your own. You need to have somebody that's giving you. They don't necessarily might not need to do your accounting for you, but tax advice is almost a must because you're missing out on dollars if you don't.
Yeah, it sounds like that. I mean, I imagine like a franchise business owner making like 80, 100K, but if you add in all the tax benefits, it could probably shoot up to another 40,
Right,
50K
right,
when you look at how much your family is making and
right.
saving
I mean, just
through that
lost
investment.
opportunity cost right there.
And tell me, I'm curious because going from enlisted to officer, that's not really common, is it?
No, not well, yes and no. It's not that common, but I feel like 30 to 40% of the officers were prior enlisted at some point now. And yeah, it wasn't easy to do. I got accepted for a program, but I mean, in order for me to even get to that point, I was taking a lot of night classes on my own, showing a lot of initiative to kind of get there. But I was blessed with the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps has been good to me. They paid for my bachelor's, paid for my master's degree, my everything. So
It's huge.
I've got no complaints.
Yeah, but it seems like your level of determination that brought you to like being a business
Yes,
owner started pretty early in your career.
absolutely.
Doing night courses and everything
Yeah,
outside of the hours that you're working in the Marine
yeah.
Corps to get to the next
I mean, I
level.
would even argue even before the Marine Corps. Like it's the Marine Corps helps push you and make you go further than probably what you think you can. But you know, probably how I was raised, watching my dad work his butt off. That inner drive to work hard. I was working with him at like 10 years old. Doing stuff. So
What type of business did
I
he
mean,
have?
he had 2 jobs. So he worked full time like me at a hospital as a purchasing manager, but then he also on the side cut grass to support our family. So I would help him cut grass and stuff on the side and at a really young age. So, work.
Starting in at 10.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
impressive. Yeah, there's a lot of like controversy. Like I had my first job at 15, but I feel like just where the country is going, and I don't know if it's with the woke movement that kids should be coddled till 22
No.
before they do anything.
No, I mean, it's tough, right? Because I was just having this conversation with my neighbor who does mostly with my taxes, and like we work hard because we want to provide better for our kids. But there's a fine line from from them not experiencing any sort of hardship and drive.
Yes. Yeah.
So like you want to give them, but you don't want to give them too much because you don't want to stifle their drive.
Yeah, and then if you're not driven and you're given too much, I think that's where people get into bad stuff,
Yeah,
with drugs and just different
yeah,
abuse, where there's no drive and no greater purpose.
absolutely. Yeah, so it's tough.
It's definitely a fine line. I'm a father just of one now, and my daughter's pretty young, but it's definitely things to be thinking about and how to instill those
Yeah,
values.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I've been able to somewhat kind of do it with my daughter. Like she's has chores and responsibilities. Like I'm like, hey, you're going to go clean your guinea pig cage, not me today. That's on you. She literally this morning. That's what she did.
Baby steps.
Yeah,
And then on the like, what other franchises were you thinking? You don't have to give
yeah.
names, but like, I guess, and what piqued your interest in this specific industry?
Just had this conversation last night with another neighbor about why I picked this particular franchise, but more so why I picked the industry and a few things. One, the startup costs were not high. I didn't have to build out a building or, lease a facility, anything, because it started off as a home-based business. So that in itself is amazing because you can start it from your home.
Yeah.
The only complex part of that for me was in the HOA that I live in. Here in Florida, HOAs have a lot of power. I could not keep my
Definitely.
logoed vehicle in the driveway, so I had to get a
Ah,
storage shed, move stuff out of the garage so that the vehicle could park in the garage. Other than that,
and that's some money that you could be getting, just people drive by and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna give him a call."
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, home-based business was important. Recurring revenue was important to me. So, you know, one of the other franchises I looked at had to do with like a painting company. And if you think about that, how often do
Okay.
people need their houses painted? Once every 5, 10 years? That
Yeah, it's a one-off
Yeah,
expense.
so that means that every you have to put a lot more money into marketing, and because every customer you get is essentially a brand new customer or a referral. So I wanted recurring revenue where I could get customers and the customer count goes up, it goes a little bit down. You lose about 16 and 20% of your customers the following year, then it goes up and it just keeps staggering up more and more. So that's was important to me, recurring revenue.
And the asset's gonna become more valuable where you have your Mosquito Hunters and you're dominating around Jacksonville, St. Augustine, all
Right.
over St. John County, then, some a bigger fish might wanna buy that for a better multiple because there's consistent customers
Yes.
rather than just, like,
Yeah.
one-off
A
customers.
franchise just sold, and I think she was in her 4th year for like over a mil. And I'm like,
That's
that's
solid. And probably what it costs, 80, 100K to open?
Um, well, it depends how many territories you get. You know, I would
Yeah.
tell you that I found it's hard to get into the green quickly in this industry if you only have one
I think
territory.
most recurring businesses are like that,
Yeah,
though.
you really
Oh, with one
right. I
territory, yeah.
really think you need at least two. Sometimes it's hard to manage three, or it's hard to come up with the funding costs because the number of territories you have dictates how much you spend in marketing each year. So for like it all depends on the franchise, but for us it's like a certain amount for year one. Well, now that you have two territories, you got to pay for both. And then if you had three territories in year three, you pay for all three. And then it stays at that level of marketing. But I've watched some franchisees struggle to grow as quickly as they wanted to if they've only had one territory. So I have two territories, and I think it's just right for right now.
And, like, so you open up, I imagine the franchisor gets you trained, and because it's a home-based business, you can open up pretty fast.
Yeah,
What kinda support do you get to break even and then making some money? Are they providing you leads? Do they help you with the marketing
yeah.
campaigns?
So the marketing is done at the umbrella company level. So Happiness Brands owns EcoMaids, Lawn Doctors, Mosquito Hunters, and they're looking to continue to grow. And the marketing done at because it's done at the umbrella level, it's like varsity level marketing, and the marketing dollars goes further. And I don't mean that. I really do mean that because when I was going down this path, I almost signed with another mosquito company. I'm not going to say their name, but there were some ethical issues they
Sure.
had because they outsourced their franchising to another company, and that company only cared about how many
Oh, wow, yeah.
territories they sold. Nonetheless, that relationship they have is gone because now they sold to an umbrella company, just like Mosquito Hunters is under. But if you think about this, like the reason Costco and Walmart can drive down prices is because they do things in bulk. Well, it's the same concept. When you have 1,200 plus franchisees that you're purchasing SEO content for, or that you can negotiate prices down. So your marketing dollars goes further, but also they know where to outsource expertise. And so they have people that kind of oversee the things, but
And they can afford to.
yes,
You can't necessarily afford to outsource a copywriter
no,
at, like, $1,000 a month.
not at all. And and they know where they're good at, so they can outsource like the number one, the number two people that do things in the country. Like they use a company called Kigo that's been like number one and number two at SEO for the longest time. And then some of the other things they do is such. Like when I was going through I thought the other company, I was like, man, they got their marketing down. Then I'm like, oh well, they're nothing compared to these this company. They're so advanced that when it rains in our territory, they will dial back on the pay per clicks and the Facebook ads because nobody wants to think about mosquitoes when it's raining. And then a couple days later, they'll ramp it up because that's when the mosquitoes are causing a problem. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty. They have a new
that's
thing where they
crazy.
can get now they can capture people's emails when they visit the website and then start a drip campaign of targeted emails to them. So a lot of great things. But the one thing that separates mosquito hunters from the competitors in the industry and sometimes even outside the industry is the ground game. And I had never heard of the ground game, and because I was knee deep about. I finished Discovery Day with the other company. I was about to sign, and not once did they talk about ground game. So ground game and the mosquito hunter. So if you believe in the theory of 7 marketing touch points before a customer commits to a purchase, they help speed up that 7 touch points through the ground game. So you're already doing Facebook ads, Google pay per clicks. You're getting Google, or you're not Facebook ads, pay per clicks. All these different centralized media that they're doing, direct mail, stuff like that. And then you help bolster that by doing ground game. So putting out a certain amount of door hangers, putting out a certain amount of road signs. We have a Gunther mascot head that's like $1,500 that we'll park our van and we'll do parking waves with it. And it gets everyone's attention. And then also getting Google reviews because Google reviews is probably one of the top ways to improve your SEO organically.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's the same company, and they're gonna judge those
Yeah.
reviews. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know it until I started doing that. So like they have minimums they want you to meet, and I mentor 3 new franchisees, and I tell them, like, "Listen, if you want the minimum, do the minimums they recommend." So you know, they wanted us to do, like, 10,000 door hangers and 200 road signs and get 50 Google reviews, and I've, like, tripled those numbers each year.
So how does it work? Like the mechanics, like the lead comes in. Do they have a call center, or does it just go to you or a
Yeah.
member of your team?
Yeah, they have a call center. It's called a dojo. In the dojo, sells across all 3 brands right now, and, um and if they can make the sale, they then it goes into our CRM that we have, and they send it to us through the CRM. If they can't make the sale, they'll still send it to the CRM. Like let's say they can't find the lot size to give them a proper estimate, or they can't get a hold of the customer after.
Then you and your team have to go out and close the deal.
Yeah, or we don't really have to go out. We have like I know exactly how to find a lot size. I know how to look
Yeah,
on the county property records for the 2 counties I service and find it. Whereas they're not
sure.
going to know that nationally.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So they sign an agreement, and then you go on site and start. You have like I imagine the first meeting is super important because you want to retain the client for
Well,
many years to
we
come.
don't have contracts, and that's one of the best selling points we have. Some of our competitors want you to sign up for this season and pay for the season. Matter of fact, the one I
Yeah,
was going to go with previously, that's their technique. We don't. For us, you
that's
just
a sticky point.
yeah, we just say you
Like I
enroll.
don't like signing as a business owner. I don't like signing contracts, and then on the personal
Yes.
side, I prefer not
Yeah,
to.
so we tell customers like, hey, we don't use the word sign, we use the word enroll because when you enroll into the
Yeah.
seasonal program, we're going to come out every 3 weeks unless you tell us you don't want us to. You just pay after each treatment. Um, but back to your point about the initial like meeting, we go out of our way to have a personal relationship with the customers, not just at the initial meeting, but constantly. I'll give you an example. And one of the beautiful things about with Mosquito Hunters is that we have these weekly calls with fellow franchisees. Not only have you bought into a system that's proven and works for a lot of stuff, but then you're constantly meeting once a week and sharing ideas, and you learn from each other. And I even learned from one of the new guys that I mentor a great thing that I do that goes into just putting us a little bit above our competitors because the pricing is about the same, the treatments are about the same. So the only thing you can do different is your interaction and do you make them feel like they're family? That's the only difference for the most part. So he taught me. He goes, "Hey, I started giving in our leave behind material. I started giving dog bones. If I knew they had a dog or I heard a dog, I go, man, that is genius.
And now after this pandemic, everyone has a dog,
Everyone has a
so
dog, and I did not know how many people love that until I started
what's
seeing
the
them.
cost? Like 5 cents, 10
Oh,
cents?
exactly, and it's just it's one more it's one small thing.
The value is like $5 or $50, the
Yes.
cost is like 10 cents.
At the end of last season, I gave, like a pack of coffee grinds and a card that says "Thanks a latte" on it, and, little small things like that to go out of the way. We give these brochures that we make every so often, kind of like a newsletter, just to kinda stay connected to, a little bit about, a personal side to about the family and stuff, so we go out of our way constantly. I tell my technicians when we go through training with them, I spend probably the first few hours only talking about who we are as a company and why it's important. And I give many examples like, hey, if you're at a property, I was at a property and a tree fell over in a plant. It took me 2 seconds to pick that tree back up and the plant and put
Yeah.
it back. But everyone has cameras on their houses nowadays. So if you don't think they saw that, you'd be fooled. It, if you walking up and and you know that the trash can is empty out in the street because the trash already
Yeah, take
came,
it out.
grab it and bring it to the front of the
Bring it
house,
back in at night. Yeah.
So those are the small things we try to do to go out of the way.
That's well said, and you were talking about your technicians. How big is your team now?
So I have 2 full-time technicians, 3 working vehicles. I have a marketing assistant, and I'm in the process right now of hiring a virtual assistant from the Philippines,
That's
which is
great.
a
Yeah,
great
it's
new
key.
concept I just learned of.
Yeah, no, I think the pandemic really fast tracked a lot of these changes
Yes.
where, I mean, we have a large team in Argentina,
Yeah.
and it's just been allowed us to really scale up and allocate resources to different projects. So that's a great initiative you're
Yeah.
taking, and I'm sure a lot of the Mosquito Hunters franchisees will follow suit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is funny because one thing you have to realize, and I learned this in the Marine Corps, you cannot do everything. When I
No,
was enlisted, I was a doer, and then when I became an officer, I became I gave guidance, I received feedback, and kind of, but I wasn't the one like actually doing the stuff. And probably my first few years as an officer, I struggled because I still in my mind I was a doer, and so
yeah, you want to get the job
yeah,
done.
and you realize quickly that if you empower your team to do it, they will go even further. If you micromanage them and then hinder them, and they're going to stifle their productivity. So, I'm a huge fan of spreading tasks out and not trying to do everything on my own, which was it's a hard trait for someone that's type A personality and driven, but it's a must as a business owner. You will wear yourself out, and you cannot do
Yeah,
it
you
all.
can't scale up. Yeah, or you'll hit some certain amount in revenue and maybe it's super profitable. You can't hit that next
Right.
level.
Like I just told my technician who I've been giving more he now is the lead technician and can and kind of tells the other one what to do. But I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm going to take one of your scheduled days on Fridays, and I'm going to take the treatments away from you, get it to the other guy. I'm going to want you now to start going out to HOAs and commercial properties, restaurants that have outdoor dining, and I want you to start making sales for bigger properties because I can't, I don't have the time, but I know he's got the capability to do it."
And how's your mix of revenue like between HOAs or you could say like more like commercial type clients versus
Yeah,
like residentials, mom and
I think
pops?
I'm at 220 clients, and like 3 of them are commercial. Two of them are no, hold on. One is a restaurant, one is a beach club, and one is it's a sports complex that they teach volleyball and stuff at.
Are you most excited to continue to expand the commercial subset or the residential?
I think the residential will organically grow, through what we're doing already. The commercial
Referrals.
won't grow unless I force ourselves to go out there and put ourselves out there to
So that's more
HOAs.
outbound sales if you're
Yes.
trying to get commercial
Yes,
contracts, and
absolutely.
probably a longer sales cycle as well.
Longer sales cycle, takes longer for decisions to be made, but then once you're in, like, commercial properties pay more. Same thing in, like, the holiday lighting, industry I'm looking to get into. Commercial, I mean, I will always do residential, but commercial properties, I mean, there are people in the holiday lighting industry that started off residential, started doing commercial, A lot of them had another job, quit doing that other business, only do holiday lights, and then now only do commercial because they work 4 months out of the year and make as much on commercial installations as they did with the other job. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems, I mean, the US is such a competitive market and capital is pretty readily available. So you see, like, compared to other markets, there's just so many
yeah,
niche type companies out there.
yeah, absolutely.
And is there much seasonality to your business? You had mentioned the holiday lighting,
Yeah.
like,
That's a very, very great question. So there is, but not much so much for us down here in Florida. So everyone else south of me, the franchisee south of me, they're year round. We're 11 months
yeah.
out of the
Yeah,
year.
down here in Miami, it's year
Yeah,
round.
I mean 55 degrees is the temperature that around it's staying and hovering, it's staying at that or below is when mosquitoes will go into diabase and not be active. So
Okay.
so we don't you don't have that much in Miami. And I only have it for a little bit here in Jacksonville. So
So it might be like a couple months,
yeah.
January, February, where it's a little
Yeah, so
slow.
we treat 11 months out of the year up here, like mid-January to mid-February we have off. But for other franchisees up north, the season, because it's temperature based, some of them only have like 5, 6 month long seasons. So that is something to consider. Another, if you're looking at the beginning of the franchising, is like, is it seasonal and how much does the season impact me? I will tell you that, still the top performing, because they've been doing it longer, they're still successful. Like 3 out of the top 4 are still in the Northeast. They're on their 4th year.
Yeah, very seasonal
Yeah,
markets.
seasonal market, but they're like 400 plus in program value still. So they're still killing it. So it's not that it's not doable, but where the struggle comes in is if seasonality is the employment part of it. So what do you do with your employees?
Especially now
Yeah.
in the current
Yeah, when
climate.
it's already this is the worst climate if you are an employer trying to find an employee. It's so
Well, can we get teens to work, or is
yeah.
it more
No,
complex?
no, really you don't want
Summer
summer
jobs?
jobs. So like that's what they do. So they find people, but then you have to be, creative in how you try to keep employees coming back each year because it's less training, less training, less cost for you. But uh, so the holiday lighting came in as a concept because it would pair well with seasonal businesses because they'll be offset. It doesn't really help me that much, but I like doing a lot of things. I like making money. I like working. I have drive. So I'm like, yeah, I'll start seeing if we can figure this out. So, me and a few others are trying to help develop it into something that they'll offer it to the franchisees or as a separate, you can probably just buy into it separately as well. So it will help cover that because we brainstorm other ways like having relationships.
And you're already kind of like the trusted advisor,
Yeah,
with their yard, so it's just one more upsell that you could go
right. I mean, like
and offer.
when I'm putting out door hangers, both of them are going out for the holiday lighting and for the
Yeah.
mosquito control.
And, yeah, just choose which spouse you think would be the buyer of the
Yeah.
holiday lighting.
Let me ask you this: who do you think is the person? Husband or wife, let's just knowing there's more different ones, right? But looking at that relationship, if there's a husband and wife, who do you think is more likely to want mosquito control?
Wife.
Who do you think is more likely to make the decision?
The wife.
We found the husband still. So it's tough because
Interesting. On both
you
sides.
got to get to the wife but you've got to get to the husband or you got to give the wife enough information so that she can sell it to the husband who uh I'm not trying to be
Who's gonna give you the credit card
yes,
to
yes,
ring.
or like, or not tell her like, no, we're not putting that on the credit card. So, and I'm not trying to be sexist, and I know there's
That
other
that
marriage.
well, that's just the reality, like, you're
Yes,
you're not gonna change behavior overnight, so you can keep doing it,
yes,
like, where you think that's the best way to do it
yeah,
and how society should be,
yeah,
or you can go with the flow, and that's how the market is.
right. I mean, so like, it's good to know that information because you can target your marketing to the people, the ones you can. I mean, back to the varsity level marketing. and this is kind of like JV, but they can see what does our typical customer look like and match
Yeah.
that profile with similar profile people on Facebook and target them.
And the images that you use, the copy that you use, the
Yes.
demographics you market, it all ties together so
Yeah.
you can spend less money on marketing.
Yes. A/B testing, things like that. Um, they do that all the time. So I'm really impressed with like the marketing institute. But I have another question for you. When do you
Sure.
think people are most likely to answer your phone call? If you had to choose a day, what day would you say first?
I would say Friday, 5 PM.
We found Saturday between like 10 and 1.
Nice.
People are
I
more
could see that.
likely to answer their phone. So just stuff we've learned.
Yeah. No, and I imagine calling someone Saturday 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., you're gonna get some people that are kinda upset, but it's part of doing business and you'll close more
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
sales.
and usually when we're making those calls, it's because the dojo has tried a few times, couldn't get a hold of them, so they pass it off to us.
That's interesting. That's good to know for anyone that's selling a good or service in the home services
Yeah,
sector.
I'm giving away all the good tips.
And how do you manage, like, family, full-time job and finance, working basically full-time in this
Yeah.
franchise?
So I mean I have a 9-year-old daughter, 2-year-old son, and a baby on the way. We have a gender reveal at the end
Congrats.
of July. Thank you. So uh I don't really I don't watch TV, you know.
Yeah.
Once the kids go to bed at night, I've got the laptop up and I'm like doing some stuff. But honestly, the reason I'm looking at a virtual assistant is because I've reached the point where I need some of my personal time back. You know,
Yeah.
um, the business is profitable, so there is a sacrifice curve for a while. Like it's the same.
What would you say, 18 months, 12 months?
It really just depends. Like do you have two territories? How driven are you to grow your business? But
Yeah.
I would say it's more of a dollar amount than it's a program value amount than it is a time. But yeah, 15, 18 months, wouldn't isn't it's pretty spot on. But
Yeah.
I need somebody that can like do small things that I don't have the time or like I can't do. Like I'm teleworking today and this is my lunch hour for the bank. I just moved it around to make this my lunch hour. But um I can't just like get a phone call and take it at my desk. I've got to like if I do, like I got to get up, like if I'm not in a meeting or I have to not answer it and then call them back while I'm in a meeting. So like I can't do
Yeah, but that's not ideal.
no.
It needs to go to someone
Yeah.
live that really knows the business and can, do the right follow-up.
Yeah, so I mean that's why I've reached the point where I'm like I think I need to hire a virtual assistant. And this is it only took two touch points for me to be convinced I need one. So there are two different people that I've met in the holiday line industry, and they same path I'm on, and they were like, "You got to get a virtual assistant." I'm like, "Well, tell me more." Finally,
Yeah. No, I like how you have these trusted advisors, like family, friends, neighbors, like, if they're saying it to you and then
yes,
you have another and then you also find it one other way
yes,
that you probably there's something there
yes.
to consider.
I try to listen to everyone's advice and like never shut doors on my own. I've got a colleague at work that sometimes he wants advice, but sometimes it doesn't seem like he takes it in or he knows better. And like you will only grow if you can be humble enough to listen to advice and then see if it can be applied to you or not.
I think the best thing too is just experience sharing, where you have to be open to listening what's worked from other people's
Right.
experiences and if it's worked for them and if it's especially if it's worked on a repeated basis,
Yeah.
it's probably worth a try.
Yeah. And if you ever have a thought of complacency like, hey, I made it or I'm good, then you won't grow. So like there's two concepts I like to talk to people about. In the Marine Corps, we have a concept of like always improving your fighting hole. So a fighting hole is like
Hmm.
in theory and reality is a piece in the ground that we've dug out and like first it's like a very hasty put together position just to provide a little bit of defensive protection and then but as you're there for a day or so you keep digging it out and you get the more you're in the ground the more you're protected from stuff like shells and mortars like that concept, right?
Yeah.
So you're always improving your fighting hole is a thought that we have in the Marine Corps. And then when I was flying in the Marine Corps, one of the other things was like you always had room for improvement. It didn't matter. So like, even in flight school, the instructors were telling you, here's the things that you can improve upon. And it was kind of beaten to our head like, don't think that you can't be taught more stuff, you know,
Yeah.
because even the instructors can ask for feedback on some things. So you can always improve. And if you're not looking to always improve, then you won't continue to improvement and grow.
That's a great mindset, and, I just read a book with Wealthy Franchisee, and that's what apparently a lot of the top franchisees, like, across thousands of franchise systems, all kinda have that positive, growth-minded,
Right.
um, way about them, where they're always learning
Yes.
and always trying to improve.
You said one key word that I think is very important, and that is the positive mindset. So there's like other franchisees that I like that I interact with, and you can tell their mindset is negative. They
Yeah.
naysay this. If like one part of the marketing thing doesn't go perfect because they're not looking at it holistically, like they're always, well, it's never their fault. And I'm like, they're the ones struggling because of their mindset. Like if you have a positive people are surrounded by other positive people who think positive thoughts. If you're on the other lane,
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and blaming others, like, have extreme ownership.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it seems like system to system, whether it's Mosquito Hunters or other franchise systems, if you have extreme ownership and you execute on the plan, like,
Yes.
there will be ups and downs, but you should rise up.
Yeah. I mean, some people coming into franchising that are new, they still think they are a W-2 employee. And I say to them, like, you're an owner. The success or failure of your business rests on your shoulders. So
Yeah.
if something doesn't go as planned, don't let a road bump turn into a roadblock. If you were waiting for your door hangers to get delivered because the franchise was ordering them from you and the company that's doing them is taking longer, well, go order your own in the meantime so you can start putting them out instead of missing an opportunity. And that literally happened to us last year.
Yeah, and not having idle time that's wasted.
Yes.
As the owner, as a business owner, you gotta be operating at super high
Yeah.
efficiency.
And not wasting opportunities. Like we have a power window of when the majority of customers come on, and if you're not doing your ground game during that power window because, oh well, I don't have my cards yet, and the power window starts closing and now you finally get your cards, well, you made that decision to not take matters into your own hand. Extreme ownership.
Yeah, I love it. Like, I read that book, I think it's the same title by Jocko,
Oh yeah, I love
and it
Jocko.
yeah, he's great at podcasts, YouTube, and then his book. I think it's something like Extreme Ownership. I'll
Yeah,
have to have our editor add it to the call
I
notes.
just watched his podcast with Dakota Myers, the Medal of Honor
Oh,
winner, the
nice.
Marine.
Yeah, I have to I gotta listen to
That
that.
one's intense.
Josh, well, this has been fun, a pleasure speaking with you. I'm sure it's super helpful for franchisees, prospective franchisees, franchisors, and everyone kind of in this ecosystem of franchising or even business ownership. Any concluding thoughts for franchisors that might be listening or prospective franchisees?
Yeah. Don't close the doors on any opportunity. Listen to what people have to say. Know yourself. If you have drive, you'll do well. If you don't have drive, maybe being in business ownership is not for you. And then lastly, when you think about how to fund your business, I will tell you it's easier to get an SBA loan on the front end because you can manipulate the numbers and stuff to make it look however you want than it is on a back end where you self-funded. Now you're not growing as much maybe and you need money because now they're going to look at your real profit and loss statements. So those are the three bits of advice I like to give everyone when they're thinking about it.
I love it. And people don't talk about it as much. There's a lot of people talking about the initial funding and getting the business started,
Yeah.
but the reality is you need ongoing financing,
Yes.
and we've learned that with this past pandemic and what happens when there's hard times and you can't rely that
Yes.
there's going to be a third PPP loan going out. So
And like what?
it seems like having a solid balance sheet from the start and maybe paying a few more interest points just to have that solid balance sheet
Yes.
will help
Well,
grow a
90% of
strong
the
company.
90% of the businesses close because they run out of money. So
Yeah,
you have to
it's a
look
tough
past
reason
the initial startup costs and make sure I wasn't in the green until about 2 months ago. So that was like,
until yeah, it takes a while.
yeah. So
I
I
see recurring revenue businesses over a year, and then if it's a business that it's just like a one-off, like, painting job, it can happen a lot
right,
faster.
yeah, but then you have to manage a bunch of people. So that one last thing, tying back to your question earlier about why this industry is, I didn't want to get into an industry where I had to manage not 10, 15, 20 people at a time, or at least have them on the, like
Yeah.
with the painting, I had to have them on the hook even though I didn't have business for them yet. So that's one thing I liked about this industry.
Well, Josh, I really appreciate the conversation today, and, really thanks again for all your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.